Ever considered why integration is so crucial? One important feature is that it enables transparency. That in turn engenders trust and increased engagement amongst stakeholders. Integration also enables the same process to be applied across an organisation, which boosts efficiency and effectiveness. Integration has a vertical and horizontal component. Vertically, the same process needs to work for a strategic plan down to a small project and enable pertinent information to flow to each management level. Horizontally, managers want to know the risks within the organisation that may affect them. Hence, an HR manager will want to be aware of resourcing risks, a commercial manager contracting risks, etc. So data needs to be accessible horizontally. Horizontal access and an ability to group projects together also enables systemic risks to be identified and managed. Hi, my name is Gavin Halling, founder of Risk Tools. Most organisations struggle with integration. There is often a focus on risk management at executive level, with business units and the like left to do their own thing. That is not only inefficient, but really impacts on effectiveness, as for example, systemic risks do not get identified, let alone managed. There are two process elements that enable integration. The first is a risk breakdown structure, or RBS for short. RBS have been around since the 1990s. Here's an example. There are several items to highlight. Level 1, the bolded lines, generally reflect an organisation's management structure. This enables risks to be cut and diced so that managers can see data anywhere in the organisation that is specific to their role and responsibilities. The Level 2, more detailed items, are subsets of the management areas and help in a workshop to kindle discussion on potential risks. Using an RBS in a workshop is described in stage 1 of this playbook. Some Level 2 items may generate the identification of several risks, while most will not be selected by workshop participants. Initial workshops tend to use the whole RBS, while subsequent workshops often focus on specific areas of interest, such as technical or commercial. An RBS generally runs to 3 or 4 pages. Once developed, an RBS usually requires some minor adjustments following feedback from initial workshops, but thereafter rarely requires updating. A quick annual review or adjustment if the organisation goes through a structural change is all that is normally required. Here are a couple of other examples. Developing an RBS is quite a quick process. It can be developed in-house from a blank sheet of paper, but as it is a one-off process, it is usually more efficient to have some assistance with a facilitator working from generic examples. Development may be undertaken electronically with the help of a video meeting, although a small face-to-face workshop tends to be best, as it is quicker and helps to garner support for the initiative. The second key integration component is objectives. This starts with ISO 31000's definition of risk being the effect of uncertainty on objectives. The reality is that most organisations give scant regard to objectives when considering risks. This is easily overcome, but before describing how, some important properties need highlighting. The first is time. Most would be aware of SMART objectives. The time component is particularly important for risk management. The key here is that at the start of any objective, we know least about it. Hence, uncertainty is at its greatest. Once the objective is completed, there shouldn't be any risks. Consider this larger diagram. Put simply, if risks are not identified early or their management is poor, then activities will slip, and at the very least, the time component of the objective will not be met. Hence, starting risk management early, followed by ongoing proactive management, is critical to achieving objectives. A second characteristic of objectives is hierarchy. Objectives are used at all levels in an organisation. An organisation's visions and goals get distilled into a strategic plan with objectives. Business units will be responsible for activities such as change management or major projects that deliver the strategy. These in turn are broken down into smaller parcels of work. Each will have their own more specific objectives. Looking at this the other way round, bottom to top, using projects as an example, a project will have objectives that are subordinate to a program's objectives. Similarly, a program will have objectives that are subordinate to but support a business unit's objectives. A program's objectives will be different to a portfolio's objectives. So the interrelationship of objectives is important in linking the responsibilities of each management level. This hierarchy is also very helpful when it comes to analysing risks. Analysing risk comprises likelihood and impact. Likelihood ratings are very similar across organisations. Here's an example. The word project applies to any activity that is designed to deliver an objective. These likelihood descriptions can be applied to both risks and opportunities. The second part of analysis is impact. Many organisations make this overly complicated. Most viewers will have seen consequent tables with impacts on environment, finance, safety, etc. Not only are these complex, but they tend to be designed for a specific level of management. So a $20,000 risk on a small $200,000 project is large for that project, but the executive is unlikely to be interested in the project, let alone the risk. The answer to assessing impact is in the definition of risk, the effect of uncertainty on objectives. This simple step ensures objectives are an integral part of the risk process. Using objectives also enables a standard impact table to be used throughout an organisation, whatever the level of management. Many projects have more than one objective, and this table enables any number of objectives to be addressed. Although the likelihood table can be used for both risks and opportunities, the impact for opportunities needs to be different. Analysis should be undertaken as part of a risk identification workshop to reduce potential bias. That said, if there is debate, go for the high level. All this will do is lift the risk up the priority table. Analysis should be a quick affair. There is no value in having a long debate. The combination of likelihood and impact enables a rating to be applied to each risk. Risk ratings help to prioritise what risks to work on first. Objectives assist with ongoing management of risks as vertical integration requires information to move upwards and downwards. This example uses project relationships, but could just as easily refer to a business unit with departments, functions, and supporting teams. It shows what risks a project manager should report upwards. Once reported upwards, the program manager should consider how such a risk should be managed, at program level or project level. If it is at program level, then the analysis should be reviewed and adjusted to align with the program objectives and the risk included in the program's risk register. A program manager should also be able to look down and see what risks are common across the projects in the program. Having this higher level view can help to identify and treat risks at program level, which would then benefit several projects. Of course, the above may be undertaken much more efficiently with a suitable toolset. Before ending this video, I would like to highlight a couple of other quick items that relate to objectives and analysis. A risk may be identified that doesn't affect an objective. When this happens, it is either not a risk to the project, or the objectives need to be updated. Objectives may not align, and may even be in conflict. Sustainability, zero carbon targets, and upper limit costs often clash. Similarly, a principal objectives may be different to a contractor engaged to help with the project. Ideally, work needs to be undertaken to align objectives as much as possible, or at least prioritise them. That said, the impact analysis works regardless of potential conflict. Analysis should reflect the level that applies today. The goal with most risk management, not safety, is to identify high and significant risks rather than all risks. There is not the cost benefit to go deeper, so move on to the next RBS element. Finally, identifying treatments does not change the analysis. Only undertaking treatments potentially changes the analysis. So let's finish with a summary of the benefits that an RBS and objectives bring to risk management and process integration. I'm not sure which would be your biggest benefit, but 1 and 4 are top of my list. One final thought. This and stage 1 of this playbook have addressed process. Process is all in your hands. There is nothing to stop you undertaking much of what has been presented for your project right now. Changing the analysis impact table to reflect objectives is a 5-minute job. Some of what has been presented will be much easier with a suitable tool set, and that is the subject of stage 3. I look forward to catching up with you then.